Alright, how are you today? Come on in.
Good, how are you?
Good. So if you just want to have a seat right over here, welcome to my office.
Thank you.
My name is Miles Gordon. I know you reached out online and went ahead and wanted to go ahead and potentially start the therapeutic process. I know that with all my clients, the first thing that I did is had you do a pre-assessment online. So I know you kind of went over some of the formalities that we will be talking about today, and kind of just gave me a little bit of background information about yourself. But I did want to highlight some things that are just sort of really crucial to our experience in general, because I do find the therapeutic practice, like anything else, like a job, a friendship, a relationship, we want it to work for both of us. So I want to make sure that you feel comfortable, obviously, working with me, and that I feel comfortable vice versa, and that the skill set that I bring is going to basically be able to tackle whatever it is you're looking to get out of therapy. So, did you have any questions to start off?
Not yet, no.
Okay. So, like I said, I just wanted to go over a few things. I know, like I said, you've gone through the online assessment. Some of the things I did want to highlight, though, is just the general cost for therapy. I know we discussed this before. You are on insurance, so with that, every hourly session we'll do usually about 50 minutes, and then about a 10-minute sort of just wrap up where we can reschedule, do payment and things like that. You will be looking at a $25 co-pay deductible, and then I do ask that if for some reason you do need to cancel, that you go ahead and let me know at least 24 hours in advance. Otherwise, you would still be responsible for half of the copay, as well as if you no-show for your appointment, you will be responsible for the full fee of the session as well. When it comes to scheduling, I know we've at this time started for today. By the end of the session, if you'd like to continue booking, we can decide. Generally, people see me whatever their availability permits. I like to at least see my clients once a month at minimum. Some people come in once a week. Some people come in once every other week. But it's really up to you and your availability. But like I said, at minimum, once a month. Does that work for you?
Yeah.
And generally, we'll go ahead and set some sort of continual time where we can meet at the same time every week, unless that doesn't work for you, and then we'll just have to navigate and be a little bit more flexible, and in that case, we'll just have to go based on availability.
Okay. That's good.
Cool. Generally, I also like to let people know that with therapy, you are looking at taking on usually about 20 to 30 sessions in order to sort of accomplish what it is that we're looking to go through, depending on the therapeutic method we use. But I just like to give people an idea that, you know, this isn't like a 3-week program, and generally therapy doesn't last for years and years and years. It can, but you kind of want to think that this is going to be something that will happen roughly over the course of the next couple months, and then we can reevaluate where you're at and how comfortable you feel. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Awesome. I like to let my potential clients know a little bit of experience, what I have. Right now I am in the practicum / supervised stage of my experience, so everything we do, for the most part, parts of it will be recorded, and I'll let you know about that. Parts of it will be reviewed by my supervisor, so obviously I just want you to be aware that other people would potentially be looking at the conversations that we're having. But all of those individuals would be people that also work in this office, and then that's as far as it would go based on that level of conversation, and I'll get a little bit more in depth at the end of this regarding confidentiality in general. Aside from that, I do have a year of student experience, and then prior to that, I have a range of experience working in different industries with different types of people, And most recently, I've just come from the human resources field, working with relations in regards to employees and their general workplace demeanor. So that's a little bit of background about myself. Did you have any questions?
Not yet, no.
Okay, awesome. Like I said, for myself, obviously I am learning, but I do want to let you know that my general scope of practice right now specifically is going to be cognitive behavioral therapy, as well as solution-based therapy. So if you know anything about the models, that's generally what I use. But I do have focuses on helping people with concerns in regards to anxiety, depression, suicidal ideation, work, interpersonal relationships, as well as I would like to ideally have a focus on the LGBTQ community, both youth and adults. And so that's generally where I'm looking to work in. So if those are things that you feel like is what you're here for, awesome. If not, please definitely let me know what it is that you're looking for, and I'll let you know if that would be something that I feel comfortable in with my scope of practice, or if that's something that we may need to find a referral for someone that's more specialized in, depending on what you're looking for specifically.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Awesome. So I just want to kind of briefly go over some of the risks and benefits to therapy. Obviously, with therapy, have you been to therapy before?
No, this is my first time.
So being your first time, sometimes people don't realize that it really does open a lot of raw emotion, raw experiences, truths, things that people haven't necessarily dealt with or experienced before in life, or even come to terms with or recognized in their own life. So I always like to let people know, there are points where you're going to expose these moments of vulnerability to yourself as well as myself, and that's completely normal, but I also like people to be prepared, knowing that that's going to happen. And if you need to laugh, if you need to cry, if you need to get angry, obviously within reason, this is definitely a safe space for that. So I just want people to sort of have an idea that it can get to that level, and I just like to prepare people so that they feel comfortable with what they're getting themselves into when it comes to the therapeutic process, and they don't feel confused or caught off guard by what's obviously going to be part of our dialogue. And I like to let people know, obviously communication is key, so I always encourage people to share and be as honest and vulnerable as possible within your own comfort level, so that we can really explore what's going on as a whole, and not have any sort of missing pieces to the experience for yourself. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Any questions? Mm-hmm. Okay. And then lastly, I've touched on this, but I definitely like to highlight this, just in general with the entire confidentiality of the therapeutic process and our relationship. Obviously, we would have a client-therapist relationship. Everything said in our sessions would remain confidential with a few exceptions. Those few exceptions would include my duty to report, and what that comes down to is, like I said, everything you discuss is confidential, except for if you disclose that you intend to harm yourself seriously, or if you have any serious intent to harm another individual. I would need to go ahead and report that to the authorities, to the individual you potentially intend to harm. And that's something that would not be able to remain confidential throughout our sessions. Additionally, I do want to let you know that I would be mandated to report any type of child abuse that you do disclose, both to yourself or if you're aware of others. That would need to be disclosed, as well as elderly abuse. I would be required to report that. Aside from that, everything else would be confidential. The last caveat would be if for some reason the court subpoenaed any information regarding our sessions. I reviewed obviously the assessment you sent in prior, and I didn't see that you have any sort of involvement right now with any legal system or any trouble along those lines. But if for any reason it did come down to it, then you would need to, that could potentially be subpoenaed by the court. But aside from that, that's the limits regarding our confidentiality.
Sounds good.
Awesome. So, like I said, that's just what I like to go over initially with my clients. From this moving forward, we'll go ahead and move into the assessment, and I'll just ask some questions about you and get a little bit more of a background, and we'll go from there.
Sounds good.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you.
Thank you.